Alone is the title of one of my recent essays. Simply that. Alone. A memory persists of a Sunday walk with a family member, us basking in the glow of a local sunflower field with the warmth of the sun on our backs. Upon leaving the farm property, we exited past a field of low-lying potato plants where a single cornstalk dared to rise up and thrive on somewhat foreign ground. It reached for the sky, far above me as well as its soil mates. I pondered under what circumstances it had arrived and thrived. Perhaps turbulent winds had carried a seed, or a careless bird had dropped its spoils of the day. Was it now waiting to ride the wave of the season's challenges and cling to any opportunity to spread its golden kernel of life come fall? At this point, you might be thinking, and so what of it? What's the big deal? Well, I find it impossible to walk in nature without fully falling for the wonders of the day. The image of that cornstalk, alone in a potato field, stuck in my brain for months like a haunting. In simple terms, the dictionary describes alone as having no one else present, or on one's own. Linking that small 5-letter word alone with days gone by set me to connecting the dots between some big memories that still shout out from my personal timeline. I recall colonization disciplines of old English schoolmarms punctuating my younger mind with conformity. I was laughed at by educators as well as in the schoolyard because of my odd pronunciations and language skills, or lack thereof, me coming from a mixed French-Scot background. I remember feeling alone and set apart from the others who, for the most part, had two parents of like origin. I survived by taking the best of what there was to be had from those good old, bad old school days in Toronto the Good, while sidestepping the untutored actions of others. On traveling back in time to revisit mild misdemeanors to the more serious deeds of my intellectually challenged brother, I once again tasted the isolation of having to process such things all alone. There were no outreach programs to help families cope with behavioral abnormalities. My parents were embarrassed by my brother's lack of conformity compared to that which was considered the social norm. I was neither allowed to ask questions nor discuss any of it, not even to reach out and seek solace in adult wisdom. Mental health issues were something that's, folks tended to simply sweep under the rug. Never able to measure up to societal expectations, my brother became reclusive. He had entered the world lonely and resided there his entire life, whether in a room full of people or on his own. As an adult, I witnessed his social worker trying to reason with him by reciting the poetry of John Donne, "No Man is an Island." He wanted my brother to understand that every life matters and that human beings don't fare so well when they isolate themselves, and that one needed to be part of a community in order to survive and thrive. In that clarifying moment, I realized that we are all inextricably connected and that we are all here to lead a life of service, which includes caring for the lost, the lonely, and the wretched. Many do not choose to walk the life of a nonconformist. Somehow, it chooses them. And so, there, but for the grace of God, go I, and all others. Not until COVID did I gain new perspective on the alone word. I was fearful of descending into the oblivion of wasted days and wasted nights, needing to stay connected to friends, family, music making, and writing. I maximize the use of infotech by placing routine calls, for example, video calls to my dad in long-term care. The Zoom platform, not without its shortcomings, nevertheless supported a variety of special online celebrations from Christmas to games night and themed dinner celebrations involving me and my tribe, isolated in each of our own homes and perched in front of our computer screens, iPads, and cell phones. A breath or two before the pandemic unleashed its monstrous reach worldwide, I was hired by my community to create routine Zoom presentations for a special Senior Center Without Walls program aimed at dispelling the darker side of alone for shut-ins. It still amazes me what a blessing it was to be able to sing and play my way through COVID, as well as share my latest essays and written works with audiences in real time. Linked to all of this were routine hikes and snapping photos on local lakefront trails and forested walking paths. The sights and sounds of the natural world offered without fail discoveries and ponderances, a living collage which breathed new life into my creative endeavors throughout the pandemic and beyond. Enter the notion that being alone and being bored are soulmates. My mother used to say, boredom represents a lack of intelligence. Well, in spite of being desperately poor, she scraped enough coins together to buy a set of encyclopedias and classic fairy tale books from a door-to-door salesman. It was a time when my parents strived to make every penny a prisoner so as to be able to have even the simplest of meals, including molasses poured over stale bread. My dad used to refer to that as dry bread and pullet. Somehow, my mother managed to make monthly payments on those books to ensure her kids would learn to read and learn to love reading and avert boredom, as there was no money for arts, clubs, or music lessons. On the one hand, those fairy tales were perfect. The other hand, however, served up the chilling reality that true life stories were fraught with obstacles, just like fairy tales, but true life didn't come with guarantees of fairy tale endings. Literacy was, and still is, the key to unlocking opportunities for higher learning and shared experiences, helping us spin possibilities of going where others have tread and beyond. It supports the freedom to choose a career path, a good life partner, as well as financial independence. Without it, it becomes easy to remain bound to the gravity and restrictions of an impoverished life. In recent years, my family was stricken with a number of tragic deaths, including my mother's struggle with lung cancer. While I believe that dying is a solo retreat, be it expected or otherwise, I've heard tell from the good nurses in palliative care that in a comatose dying state, a person may still be aware of everything around them, even though they cannot respond to stimuli. Hence, the reason my siblings and I held our mother's hand for days and nights, speaking, reading, and singing to her so that she wouldn't feel alone. In one of her lucid moments, towards the end there were few lucid moments, she asked me to read to her from the book of Psalms, "The Lord is my shepherd." So all I can say is, thank you, Mom, for those books. I'm glad that my reading skills have served as a comfort to us both. Alone, that simple little 5-letter word looms large in some people's lives. And back to that single corn stalk in the potato field that started all of this. While I was not alone on that Sunday walk, I was alone in my thoughts as I contemplated the notion of being alone, as well as one stalk of corn. Did that one stalk of corn make any difference at all in the measure of things? Well, the English poet and scholar John Donne would have thought so, as he wrote the words, "No man is an island entire of itself." Besides which, planting corn and potatoes together, I've heard tell, improves the growth and flavor of tubers. On a final thought, alone can be many things, including what you make of it.